if you are new, I am Pete DeWeese. I'm the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Sprayberry High School in Marietta, Georgia. We're going through, the same thing everybody else in the country is, and hoping we get access to our kids sometime in June. And we're fortunate we're going into year 4 of a program with kids that have a more of an understanding of what our culture is and what the expectations are and what our schemes are. But it's hard when you don't see your kids every day. We've all got those kids on our roster that we have to keep a thumb on and make sure they're keeping up academically and staying right in the hallways and in the community. And it's weird right now when you're not seeing those guys every day. So I know everybody's going through that. Like I said, if it is your first time, we're pretty relaxed. What I basically ask is put yourself on mute. When you got something to say, unmute it and say it, man. Whoever's sharing, give them the floor. Feel free to ask questions. Anybody is invited to share their screen. I encourage you, show diagrams, show video, do whatever you want, and feel free to, we kind of move and let the conversation be guided by the questions people have and the things that people are going to share. What we typically do is I get us started just to kind of get the ball rolling, but and then we'll kind of build and go from there. So, with that being said, I'll go ahead and kind of rip here. First and foremost, man, I am not a guru. Sometimes I play one on TV, but I'm not one. And I'm looking to learn just like everybody else. But tonight I thought I would share 2 things that really didn't become a big part of what we were doing last year until we were almost middle of the season. And it's really 2 schemes that we use to kind of protect one another. We feel like they complement one another. I had the discussion last night on a Zoom about offensive game planning that Chris Parker at Pickens High School in Georgia held. And we were talking about most high school teams these days, they carry 2 trips checks. You might see a third. The third is almost always guaranteed to be pressure-based. You see it triggered pre-snap, you know what's coming. But typically, we feel like most teams seem to carry 2 trips checks. And so we always try to make sure, that we have an answer for whatever their most common checks are. So when we talk drop back game and oftentimes our third down package, this is one of the things that we carry. So, I am an R4 guy. And so I will use kind of some of that terminology. One of the things about R4, if you dive into it, it's not a system that tells you what you have to run. It just kind of gives you a process for how to teach and build your system, which is kind of what we've done here. So the first one I'm going to show you, we call it Buck because we basically stole it from Alatoona, who are the Buccaneers. And they do it from under center pro style offense, and they'll just take number 2 and they will clear him out and run him right down the hash. And they'll take number 1 and they will run. It's a fairly flat dig and literally run him right behind that seam route or that clear out and drive the ball in there underneath the safeties. For us, doing it out of 3-by-1 made more sense. It gives you some of the same things that the traditional switch routes give you. That so many people run, but we felt like doing it out of 3-by-1 fit our system, fit our kids. So what we have done with the concept is we put 1 on the vertical on the outside. He is, in all honesty, nothing but a pre-snap peak for the quarterback. If we're getting pressed and he likes to match up, he's got the authority to take it. Otherwise, he's not part of our progression at all. What we are looking for in the route here is really we're looking to high-low wherever this middle of the field safety is, right? If they're 1 high, obviously he's going to be in the middle of the field. But if they're 2 high, he's probably somewhere moving off this back hash, looking to poach and fish to number 3. So what we do is we rhythm. So our first read is going to be the seam by number 3. And then our second read in the progression is going to be this. I've got it drawn like a dig cut. We run it as a read post. We want to stay as high as we can. And we're working off the grass of that safety. So The seam read is he's taught that if the safety lifts and is vertical to the middle of the field, so if we get a safety that wants to start here and work, if they're going to rotate coverage, we're going to go ahead and cross face, and we're going to probably end up working this thing more like a post on this backside, and we're just going to work off of that safety now. If that safety doesn't lift and get real vertical, or if pre-snap he's gone ahead and bossed himself over and is going to stay here and not try to rotate, we're going to stay skinny to hold him, and we're more likely at that point to snap the route off flat. Now, on the backside, we have a couple of different options, the things that we do with game plan. If we're seeing a team that we know likes to take those safeties and, if they like to take that safety and either play some one high structure or really move this safety off of that backside hash, what we work on the backside is what we call our pinch route. It's a post return route. So if that's the case, if our quarterback looks up pre-snap and he sees this backside safety is aligned off the hash or starts rotating early off the hash, we're going to rhythm that seam route. And then our read is we're going to come all the way back here and we're going to work that pinch route. If we're getting a team that wants to play more bracket on the backside, if they're going to cloud the backside and try to play more of a traditional two high structure, then our game plan is typically that slide release corner, because we want to occupy and pull this safety, because now we feel like we've put the mic in a bind and we put the front side safety in a bind with the route structure. We do 6-man protect it. We don't get the back out a ton on this concept. When we do, we're going to release him front side almost always, because again, if we can affect these guys and get them underneath, so we feel like we've built in obviously a way to attack the middle of the field vertically. We've built in a high-low for the linebackers to work, but we've also built in something that allows us to attack coverage that's rotated from that back side. So here, middle of the field, it's a 3rd and 10 situation. You can see we're getting a one high structure here, okay? So the quarterback knows pre-snap. I mean, this safety is all the freaking way over in the opposite freaking B gap or C gap. So he knows he's going to work this backside pinch route. So you'll see in the drop, he's going to look at the seam release strong to hold that safety. And as soon as he hits the top of his drop, and we have that kind of cushion, we know, and you can see the inside receiver, he's going to push to 8 yards, break his post, and on the 3rd step, flat back to the sideline. And we feel like it gives us a chance. Had he stayed to the field, you'll see the seam inside releases to pull that backer. I don't like the route by number 2. We would like for him, he snaps it off almost like a slant. I'd really like to see him push that thing vertical and work hard 90 there. Because he's getting man-to-man. But so we don't love that route, but we like the route down here. Quarterback almost throws it too far outside. Kid makes a nice catch. Another look at it. Different game, different coverage. Let's see if I can dragging a little bit for me.
Coach, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
The alignment of number 3, how wide is he from the tackle?
We really don't want him any more than 3 or 4 yards. He's sometimes here. He's probably 5, but we don't want him that wide. We really want there to be space between 2 and 3. We'll let 3 get as tight as he thinks he can be, really, without having to deal with a box player as collision.
Can I ask you, how great is it to have hashes that wide? Because in Texas we play college hashes.
For this play, it's nice. In almost everything else we do, I wish we played with your hash.
It sucks.
I agree. There's so much that we do. I would love to have the college hash.
Yes, it's a lot more fun throwing the ball. I agree. Thanks for answering my question.
And you look at it here. Look where the ball's spotted. This is pretty close to where your hash would be. Yes, maybe a yard inside that hash. But same kind of deal. Now the kid down here, so when we get pressed right here, instead of working the pinch route, we were working the fade, and he's ankle taped up and half speed, and we told the quarterback, I don't care where the safety is. If we get this corner, he's off the map, because this kid's really physical, really good, and we didn't handle it very well. So you can watch this kid. He gets slung around a good bit down there. But you'll see here, 3's going vertical. He's going to so quarterback's got his eyes right there for us, right on this safety. And you'll see safety, he backpedals. We move him a little bit, and it's incomplete. Quarterback ends up, they worked a really nice stunt up front and beat our protection. The quarterback takes it in the chops. We get the look we want right here. But I really just wanted to show you that the seam does open itself up some, and we've got a chance, obviously, to hit it right there. We don't do a great job at number 2 up top avoiding the collision. But even if we do have to throw that in rhythm, you know, they've got a safety drive, and their game plan was to bracket that dude that's at number 2, because he's a really freaking good athlete. And you can see it here. They beat him up and play over the top of him. But even so, we feel like if we're in rhythm, we might have a chance there. So that's kind of the first thing I want to share. The second one that we do, we do to protect it, right? We want it to look the same pre-snap, except we do a lot of times put the back weak on this, or even if we put him strong, we're going to distribute him weak. So again, Z's vertical on the outside. He's a pre-snap peak. Now we're gonna take H vertical. You know, and so, you know, if this safety starts sitting to drive the dig on our buck route, we work our over route now. So now he's going to be vertical. If he gets somebody below the hard deck that wants to collision him, we give him permission to kind of outside release it and work away. So we're going to now rhythm this seam route here, and we lock that seam. We don't let him bend it. And then we're going to read the out route here. We try to get 8 to 10 yards on this out route. Same deal, though. We tell the quarterback backside, if this safety starts poaching all the way over, our normal tag here, our normal is going to be this backside post route. There are some times where we like working a shallow backside to create a little bit of a high-low here again. You know, you can read it from 1 to 2 down to this shallow route. But if we run the post, you know, you can still distribute the back out to the trips and create that same high-low and make it an easy read.
Hey, are you banging the post, or is it a regular post?
This backside, so this is going to be a 12-yard post for us. So we're still going to rhythm here to try to pull that safety, you know, over, and then we're going to come back and we're going to hit that as our second read in the progression. In our post, our kids are reading it. You know, if the space is horizontal, that's where they're going to go, and if the space is vertical, if it's uncapped, they're going to take it. So that's kind of what we look to do there. So this one we're going to hit the backside post. So again, we hit the pinch earlier, right? This was actually before we hit the clip I showed a minute ago where we hit the pinch route. I didn't go delete all my comments here. But so you can see his eyes are front side right here. They're playing with depth. They're capping the seam by number 2. So he's going to come backside now. We get a good post route, and it's a good ball for an explosive. And, you know, part of the reason, Trip, that we don't try to bang that post backside is we want to give this guy time to work the hips, you know. So we're going to keep these eyes front side, try to pull it there, and we're going to try to take advantage of that as much as we can. Number 3 right here, you can see how he outside releases. We prefer, if the guy is going to be head up to outside shoulder, we actually want this guy to inside release, back out, because we think it helps us on that seam route. But here he felt like he could get outside without getting collision, because what we tell him is you can't get expanded underneath that seam route in case we back shoulder the seam. Because against man, you know, we have a chance to back shoulder that seam sometimes, especially when they're playing off a good bit. But so here we just bang it backside, going another clip. So same. Thought I deleted these notes. Right here, same deal. So we're supposed to be. Here we go. So same play here. We get cover 1. They decided to press the slot, and they busted their own coverage. They meant to be over the top of this guy, and they weren't. So right here, he knows this is his rhythm route. Pre-snap, he knows where he's going with the ball. And we do this. Obviously, we're doing this with a nub tight end backside to create a 7-man protection. This is a 4th and 4 call for us right here. So our out route knows he doesn't have to be a full 8 to 10. But we get the look we want. We get our dude where we want him, and able to drop it in the seam. Because that's, especially in 3-by-1 stuff with the ball on the hash, you might have a dude out here that's not the easiest throw for a quarterback. But if you take a guy that's not used to playing a ton of man-to-man and you can put him in that situation and work that hash, that's one of the things that we always try to isolate. One more clip, same concept. It's actually same game. Pausing up on me a little bit. So now they're over the top. Now they are comboing this guy. They're going to bracket him as much as they can. I don't like, to answer Coach's question earlier, I don't like how wide number 3 is right here. I'd like him to be probably 2 yards more inside than he is to create more separation from this backer. But it just becomes a deep stick route. Now our number 1 out here, we had to sub a kid and he missed the signal, and he freaking bust the route right here. But, all this is with number 3 is it's Y stick. We teach it the same way almost, where we turn out, but we tell him when you're working vertical, you're evaluating how much grass you have to cut into. And if there's a guy standing on that hash and you can't roll out of that route, you're just going to open your shoulders and stop. But if you can roll out of it and push for width, we're going to do it. Quarterback ends up having to sail the ball a little bit because the outside guy runs the wrong route. But and you can see, kind of leaves his guy out to dry. But you can see what we're trying to work. If we throw it in rhythm right there, we got a better play, and he's got a chance to – if it's a good ball, we're getting the first down right there. So, like I said, those are 2 or we're at least giving ourselves a chance for a 3rd down because that was second forever. But you can see those are 2 things that we do. Again, routes that I think kind of protect one another, give you a different way once you figure out how their safeties are playing for you to attack similar area of the field. It's easy for us to rep. We can build it into any 3-by-1 structure that we have. And our quarterback liked it because he always felt like he had an out with the football. He was comfortable knowing what he had backside, knowing that if he got something one high or something that was going to rotate, he could always work that way. But he felt comfortable, obviously, with the matchups to the trip side as well. So, any questions about either of those fellas? All right. Who else wants to share, man? Somebody come on and give me something good. I need all the good I can get.
If you give me just a second to pull up some film, I got something.
You got it, Nick.
I like.
Pete, okay. I was gonna pull up some film. Never mind. I figured it out on my own.
Yes.
Hard time.
We're all learning it, Coach.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, I was getting grief in my offensive staff meeting today because I was the only one that knew how to splice film. I told them young bastards they could all kiss my ass.
That's right. You're probably the only one that knows how to paint a field too. It's a lost art. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just talking to somebody about that today.
Move some irrigation pipe.
Yeah, no, that's big time. Nick, you ready or are you frozen? You look frozen.
My computer is giving me some hard
There you
time
are.
right now, but I'm trying.
All right.
Trying to get it loaded. It's like every clip I want to get isn't working, but the ones I don't want, I can get up. But anyway, can't really get it working right now. But one thing that we're doing this year, and I actually got some Alabama film and noticed this was something that they were doing a lot. And we talked to Coach Sarkeesian before this whole pandemic started. This is something we were going to start to do. But we're not really going to throw much drop back 90 game without play action this year. for a couple of reasons. All right, and those reasons kind of being, if you think about what play action does, even if it's just not necessarily freezing those linebackers for to get behind them or anything, but it changes their responsibility, right? So one guy pre-snap may say, okay, I've got hook to curl, and then this other guy's collision and keeping everything outside of him. But now, as soon as I flash fake that back in front and I shoot out to the other side of him, those two linebackers, their responsibilities changed, right? And so we noticed that Alabama was doing it a lot, and they would be able to kind of pause those linebackers, find people open in the flats, and really open up the area behind them and help themselves with pass protection. Because what's the hardest thing for a defensive lineman to do? And we think it's to go from keeping gap integrity, right, to pass rush. So it really helped with our pass pro. But really, we like it because it changes those linebackers' responsibilities, and having a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid try and make a check post-snap, we equate that to the same thing as if a defense is trying to, mess with a quarterback and roll coverage post-snap, right? We're trying to get that same advantage just on an offensive side and an offensive perspective. All right, so, like we said, just trying to change their responsibilities just by giving simple, flash fakes across where, hey, if I want my running back to shoot to the right side, well, I'm going to start him on the left side, give him a quick flash fake, and then he's going to end up on the right side just to keep those guys off balance and to really kind of make them think a little bit more than what they'd have to. Like here, actually, I got my film going now. Let me see if I can't share my screen. So here's some Alabama film where they're kind of doing exactly what we're talking about. This is last season, and just this little flash fake across right here, it not only pulls this linebacker down, but it changes his responsibility, right? So rather than being able to sit here, in the middle of the curl, well, now he actually has to expand out and work this side of the field. Now this linebacker's responsibility is now moved over, because when you think about what defenses like to do, right, if you got a three-man surface on this side and a two-man surface on the other side, well, they're going to bump a linebacker over to this three-man surface because that's your passing strength, right? Well, now all of a sudden post-snap, this becomes my three-man surface, this becomes my two-man surface. Well, now we're just trying to sort all that stuff out, right? So they're able to find all that in between. Now, Tua takes a sack right there, but you can see how it opened up this area right behind these linebackers just with a little flash fake. And really, it didn't change anything else, right? They're still running their concept. They're still running their deal here where it's just kind of out routes and vertical pushes, right, and keeping it over the top. But they're able to do it with a quick flash fake to kind of open it up behind it.
3 years ago, Nick, we were I don't want to say a big four verts team, but that was our primary drop back concept, I would say. And we found that flash fake with the back and then getting him up and out, that made our four vert game so much better. And it didn't matter down in distance. If I was calling it on 2nd and 4, or if I was calling on 3rd and 14, it was going to do just enough that it opened up the seam route, which is where I wanted to go with the ball more often than not. Regardless of coverage structure, it did just enough to hold the linebackers and give me a chance to work the seam.
Yeah, and same thing here. I mean, even if you do go from motioning a receiver over there and just changing that look post-snap, all right, now this linebacker right here is in a bind because all of a sudden this now becomes a two-man service rather than just a one-man service, and it changes his entire responsibility. So now he's stuck in no man's land, and there's your, wide open mesh coming right from the other side.
Yep.
So just something that we found, and I don't anticipate running very much drop back game without a play fake this year, just kind of for these different reasons.
I will say this. I know last year, because I wanted to do a lot of it last year, my back did not like coming across the quarterback in protection. I don't know why. He didn't like it.
Yeah.
Now, I've had backs in the past that were comfortable with it. It didn't matter to them. So there were times last year where we did not do as much of it as I would have wanted. And it was just because the kid wasn't comfortable. And I try to keep my kids out of those situations as much as I can. But I'm with you, man. It's such a simple tag. It's an easy thing to do. Not only Alabama, you go back and you look at Ohio State, they will do a ton of stuff where they put, 3-by-1 field boundary, doesn't matter, and they'll put the back to the trips.
Yep.
Flash the back across and swing him.
Yep.
and
That's
create
exactly
their, whatever their basic on the backside with that swing. But it does just enough to hold the hook and hold the mic
Yep.
that they're able to work that window now for easy throw and catch. So yeah, I'm with you, Coach. That's whatever you carry. It's such a simple thing that you can build into so many of your concepts.
Absolutely. And like I said, man, it's the exact same to roll in your coverage if you're a secondary trying to confuse a 16, 17-year-old quarterback trying to make a post-snap decision. And that's just kind of the way I look at it. And
It's a good way to put it.
It's an advantage.
Yep.
And Pete, man, I totally agree with you about the back on verts. I think the whole key to verts is getting the back out. I think the whole key is getting the back out on verts. So many times that kid wants to stay in there and look around. Get your ass out of there and yank that linebacker out of that hole. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, that's what we always try to, if we're going to run verts, there's always a bender on the seam, one kid that's got the freedom. So we try to put the back opposite of that kid, bring him across, and then you get out as fast as you can to pull somebody out of that window so we can hit that thing when we bend it.
We dig it instead of bend it.
Bet you just dig it.
That whole shot about 14 yards,
Yep.
Yep.
So
Yeah. There we are right there. There's our stuff right there. And we're reading the backside safety. We're reading the strong safety. If he rolls to the middle, we stay vert. If he stays on the hash, we dig it.
So what we're teaching that age right there is we call it capped uncapped. If my safety caps me, so he backpedals on my hash,
Yep.
then I'm going to run my dig at 12 yards. If he leaves my hash, spins to the middle of the field, if the ball's in the middle of the field, comes down to me, right, and gets flat-footed at 7, 8 yards going to cover 3, that H is reading that ball. Now, the quarterback, what we teach him is if we get, as we all know, right, we never play with the ball in the middle of the field like this. That never happens except for the first play on 7-on-7 tournaments. When we're right here, we're telling that quarterback we're going to peek at the boundary safety because in high school he tells me everything.
Yep.
So if the boundary safety rolls, that does not mean that I'm now going to throw this whole shot to the field. Okay, I'm not sure if that's going to be there. We're going to hang on one to see if somebody insulates the crosser, and we'll just work the free safety with our eyes. And then we can always come back here. So that would be like, my alert, and there's 1, and then there's 2. Okay, so 3 things to give him. He can pre-snap the gift if we like the X one-on-one. So we're reading that boundary safety, 99% of the time. If the ball's in the middle of the field, okay, he's going to read that safety away from the H to tell him because he knows his H is his converter on what he's got. So that was one of our top plays from last year. So here's just a couple quick looks.
Coach, quick question on that. If you pull that back up, traditionally you run that cross route, go back to the 3-by-1, and you're under Sam over Mike right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Are you differentiating, splitting those two guys based on their initial alignment, or how is that doing? How is that
Coach,
working?
we used to say that stuff, old cross under 1 over 2. But when it comes to it, I need UY to get onto that hash as fast as possible. So we just tell them bar, best available release, and let's roll.
That's what yep.
You got to get to that hash because if you go under 1 over 2 and then they stay in quarters or poaching number 3, well, now you're in the way of my dig window if we pull the mic out. So we just tell them best available release. Let's get through there and get to the other hash as quick as you can. And he's also taught, right, if that free safety on the snap leaves my hash, as soon as I clear that backer level, I better give eyes because the quarterback we got, he's going to put the ball with air on that hash.
Once he gets to that hash, are you telling him to keep working 22 yards or whatever to the sideline, or are you telling him to get vertical up that hash?
Yep, he's getting vertical up that hash. But if we ever get to that point, then we got really good protection, and we're sitting back there for 4 seconds. So we never had to worry about that being an issue in the concept of the play. So that's how 2 bytes. So it's always the H for us being the converter. And like you guys are talking about, we'll do this year is we'll flip. Let me go here to my actual drawing of it. We'll flip the back now to this side, right? And just flash fake him across and have him run a Swede route out here. And it's doing the same exact thing, right? So all I'm doing is just changing it up. But really, I'm running, it's the same exact concept. But Coach, like you were talking about, when I move that guy around, and I rotate him from one side to the other, it's now totally changed for those linebackers. So now we'll just do that, call whatever we call green. We call green flash, and he would flash across, and here we go. We're ready to roll. So that's how That's how we do it. And here's a couple quick looks at film of it. So here's the first game playing McKeecher, and this is 3rd and 21. So you got the 3 safety look, but our converter right there, number 2, wish he'd scoot in right there and get on the hash. He's reading the safety over top of him. He determines he's capped, so he's going to shut that thing down at 12 yards. And there we go. Usually there's not that middle safety, but it's 3rd and 21. Here's a look at a 2x2. Okay, here's our H down here, so he's our converter. All right. So now the quarterback, we're considering the ball was in the middle of the field. Since the H is here, he should scoot in a little bit. So he's going to peek at this safety, and on the snap, he sees him go in the middle of the field. So right now he knows in his head, this is game 1, true freshman quarterback. What he should be doing is staring at him and pushing him back to that hash to open up this throw. Now he still does a dang good job because he's talented and fits it in there. But that's what he's reading, is a safety away from the converter, because it tells him everything. The safety over here doesn't really tell him much. But if I look to away from the H or to the field, or the boundary, normally, it tells me everything I need to know with what is my H going to do, convert his route or not convert his route. Here's one more look at it, and then I'll stop talking about verts, which I'm sure most of you guys in here are better at coaching than I am. So here he is again converting, and there you go, because he got capped. Running back had to stay in protection call we had on, so we lost our check down, but we keep working that window. And I'm a huge fan. I don't know what you guys think of digs over curls. I think in high school, with how wide our field can be with those hashes, just getting those kids running through windows, really tough on those linebackers. Curls, they can kind of take you away, and I'm probably against it since we threw a pick on it in the second series of our opening game this year, and then never threw another one again.
Do you like the bender more from the field or coming from the boundary, or does that really depend on what they're doing with their safeties?
So I like it to the field, and then how I learned this play from my buddy and Coach Calhoun, who's in here, knows Russ Calloway as well. They give a 3-way go to both people. So if you're looking at it, right, we don't do that just from the fact of I just don't trust us to get that right every single time. But they'll do a 3-way go from both guys. So both guys for them have the ability to go, sit, or bend, right? So depending on what my safety does tells me what to do. We just cut it down to 2 things. You got to go or a bend, a dig, out of one guy. The Y knows to run opposite hash from the H, and we don't give him any rules. Now, in a perfect world, right, we could coach him up to sit or go, right? But we're not. We're just telling him, you cannot ever stop your route. You go. We're going to read this side when we determine the coverage of the safeties.
We tried that in the summer, and we kept kind of screwing it up. So we were like, it's high school football. Let's give them a 2-way. Let's give them a 2-way go and be done with it.
Yeah, I've had the same experience with.
It sounds great. And I tell you what, that back, we tell that friggin' back his job is to literally take that armpit off of that Mike linebacker and yank him out of there. I mean, we tell him to yank his ass out of that hole. And that is your job, to yank him out of there. And that's really I've been doing that for years, and that really helps open up that window, because so many times, like you said, the backs just want to screw around in there because they're afraid, they're going to do something wrong. We really, really preach, get your ass out of there. If you're a guy in blitzing.
Yep.
How much 5 out, since I'm still unmuted, how much 5 out are you guys doing? I've been studying that a lot this off season. Not lining up in empty. I'm talking about line up in your stuff that you run, your heavy run formations, but you got your 5 out call. Has anybody got anything that they would like to share to show?
I don't have anything for us to show because we're transitioning to this from more of a power run, but I was going to get ready to ask that question to see what everybody thought about that. I think it's a pretty good thing because of the fact that when you're talking about defenses, if they want to get home when they blitz, they can always bring one more than you can, and if you put 5 guys out in the route, whether you're lining up in it or whether you are, going from the backfield, teams freak out to that. I mean, because they don't know how to cover that. At least most time. And if they do, they've got 1, maybe 2 checks, especially if you line up in it. So I think anytime you're getting 5 guys out there, it just puts that extra stressor on there. And the other thing is when you're talking about, like, you were talking about, you didn't want your guys to mess it up, this and that. We're talking about high school football. those guys in the backfield, you're not paying them to be pass blockers per se. They're athletes. Get them out on a swing route or an easy check down and get them the ball. And, if you can get them to do more than a few routes and get them into verts and stuff like that, I think you got a lot of good stuff. But a lot of times I think we have them in there because it's the traditional thing to do. But, I mean, hell, if you could block with 10 and the defense is bringing 11. They've always got that advantage.
We've always treated it as a game plan. There were 3 teams on our schedule last year where I felt I had to carry predominantly 6 and 7 man just because of what they do. We would see defenses that, particularly odd front, that would have a guy off the edge, a guy through B, and if your back releases out right now, they're just going to peel with it, and you may be unaccounted for in B gap. So when we saw those teams, we were more likely to protect with 6 or 7, but we try to get 5 out as much as we can. We want to, and I'll say this: some of our more explosive plays have been when we've been able to get the back out, and a lot of times just finding the back on the check down, man, and making the quarterback believe in it.
Amen. How do y'all get the guy to throw the check down? Because I think a big mistake we always make is we'll be throwing Pascal or we'll be and we stop the play because, the primary routes aren't there, and then the quarterback doesn't throw the check down. I mean, that drives me crazy. We don't keep the play going and, get them to because you got to teach them to throw that check down. How do y'all do that? How do y'all –
Give them the trash offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Coach, can I throw in something about teaching the flat check?
Yeah.
We do too. For starters, we don't call it flat checks. We call it fat checks because you can take the fat check early or late, and it's never bad either way. Now, I'm going to give credit where I stole that from Steve Craigthorpe when he was at Tulsa.
That's awesome.
I'm not trying to offend anybody by saying that, but it resonates.
That's awesome. That's a great term.
Coach, it 100% resonates. When I was a defensive coordinator, we always told our guy, everybody wants to take the prom queen.
That's
right. Everybody wants to go cover the vertical. Force them to throw it to the fat chick, and then they need loving, so let's go give her love. I mean, that was literally how we coached it.
Now,
so
the way we get to that is when we throw Pascal. Coach, you mentioned Pascal. When we throw a route, I stand behind the quarterback, and if we have, if we're throwing Y cross where the back is getting out, wherever he throws it to, I pitch him a ball and I force him to flip his hips and throw the ball there.
That's a great idea.
And again, it doesn't take while the other guys are coming back. He's still building muscle memory, throwing it out there. But
we stress with our backs, if you get out and you feel like you're open, making a ball call, and we stay on them about being loud. And what we tell them is if the ball doesn't come to you, you stop, you stand perfectly still, and as soon as the play's over, you just get the quarterback's attention. So, like, literally our kid will be standing out there by the numbers, and the play's over, and he'll just go, Kyle. And then he'll give him a thumbs up and jog back to the huddle. And it's just that reminder, dude, I'm there, and especially and we treat it the same way in practice. If we see it and we come back and we're in the huddle for the next play, I'll look at the tailback and I'll say, you got something to tell Kyle? He's like, yeah, I was open. So we just put it in his head as much as you can. And I'll say this too. I always make sure to work. We try to do mesh with our running backs 3 days a week. I work our running back swings and angles and wheel routes and whatever. I give those at least one day just to make sure he's comfortable with them. So
I was just going to say practically everything we do, we have 5 out. So pretty much from day one install, we don't even teach them 6-man pro. That's the extra. That's day 6. That's day 7 of install. So pretty much everything we do in our drop back game is 5 out. So, I mean, I've got film of pretty much anything you could think of as far as drop back concepts. So if anybody needs anything or has any ideas of what they might want to see, I mean, that's who we are. That's what we do. So
I think the great thing about getting your back out every play is even if you line them up in the backfield, you're making them defend 5 wide every play. And once again, they've only got a limited amount of checks to that. And, very easily you can get the quads or whatever with the run threat there. So that's almost guaranteeing that they're going to have to keep a 6-man box. And then, theoretically, I hope to heck your running back's better athlete than their linebackers and get out of the perimeter.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of talking to some people's kind of changed my philosophy on that. I don't think we're not even keeping our running back in protection this year. We'll get him out.
I'll say this, even if you do want to protect with 6, we've been a heavy 11P team the past 3 years. Sometimes we're flexed and we present as 10P. But a lot of times there's a guy, whether he's handing the dirt or he's backed off the ball, we have gotten to the point where we will actually use that tight end as our 6-man and get the back out and check release the tight end now. And he's looking B gap out, but especially against the odd front teams, we've found that's been just a good way for us to handle those guys. Because we can show a 2x2 with a tight end off the ball on one side and a tailback on the other, and I can create all my 3-man route structure. He'll work a backside tag with the tight end releasing late. That if I'm going to be 6-man, that has become my preferred way. I just don't know if I've got that kid on my roster to do that next year. Look, it's high school, man. If your tailback's not your best athlete, it's just because he's a big SOB that's hard to tackle. So get him out, man. Get him out as much as you can.
All right. I feel like if you don't line up in empty, if you line up in normal sets, you won't get any of those crazy exotics either, but you're actually going to a 5-out instead of, we got ripped 2 years ago by Parkview because we came out empty and they lit us up on something we hadn't seen before. So they got us on that play. But if we would have stayed in a traditional 3x1 set and just got the back out and taught our quarterback, who was Hotsar, like we're doing now in the offseason, it would have helped us out better. So I appreciate that answer.
Yes, sir. Who's got some goods for us?
Pete, I'll share something.
Yeah, man.
So let me pull this up real quick. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I'd say most of you know spacing, so I'm not going to waste your time on the basic install on it. But what we started doing, give me a second. Let me get to the single shot. Come back. What we started doing is going trips and pushing the back out to the trip side. And it really put a major bind on a lot of teams. So what we were doing, and this is probably not the best example, but what we're doing is we are pushing the back out, creating a quads look, and we're running spacing. So this number 3 wide receiver is supposed to be running curl over ball. Our number 1 has the post curl. We've pushed the back into the flat, so he has the flat. And what we did is we tagged number 2 on an oppo or go opposite hash to hold the safety. And this team right here is playing cover 1. This isn't the best example. But what we did and what we found out by doing it is that when you push that back out, especially to the trip side, defenses either check out of what they're doing. They will cancel blitzes. They will turn off what they're trying to do because they don't see it very often, especially with the motion. Because when you're in a normal 10 personnel set, trip set, or 11 personnel trip set, they have their basic checks. And when you push that back out, you're going to a quad set, and they're high school kids, like we've said multiple times on here. They're 16, 18-year-old kids. They don't know how to handle that. Sorry about that. What we do is we tell our quarterback, we're reading curl over ball, which is our spacing route, curl over ball to the post curl to the flat. The only way he's going to come back to the backside is if he sees full push from the linebacker. If he sees a safety screen down, that'll trigger him to come back to the backside single on the post curl. We had success after success on this all year long. If we ever got in a 3rd and long situation, it really, really hurt people.
It's real similar to the 4-man snag that I run. But I like the way that you're taking 2 and where I send him on a corner. I like the way you're clearing the opposite because you hold the safety.
Exactly.
I like that.
We teach our quarterback, we're not even looking at that kid. He is there just to occupy that safety. He is running off. He's a clear out, period. Now, where I've been preaching to our quarterbacks is we need to throw the curl over ball more often. Obviously, when running spacing, the more you throw the curl over ball, the more success you're going to have with that with the post curl to the field. But if we can incorporate that back into our spacing call, I think we're going to be even better at it this year.
And that,
Coach, we're doing the same thing, but we're switching the way you have 2 and number 1 to trips. We're running the curl with number 2, and we're sending 1 on that post.
Okay.
So we're gonna check that post first, especially if we get a too high look. If that safety tries to jump that curl, we're gonna look to throw the post over the top of them. But we're doing the same thing, like you said, Pete. It kind of goes with our 4-man snag look, different look.
How deep do you run number 2 on that when you do that, Coach?
Well, we're gonna go probably 10 back to 8, because we don't want to go too deep, because then it gives that safety longer.
Yeah.
You know, we want the safety to jump him early so that we can go over the top of him. So we'll probably go 10 to 8. Now, when we run it from number 1, it's usually 12 back to 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you all straight curl or are you all post curl?
Well, it depends. We've been post curl. Well, we've been burst curl. If you go by, we do a lot of R4, and Dub calls them burst curls. So we went to that a good bit this year, as opposed to post curls. Before, we used to run post curls, but I found that the burst curl kind of helps us with the leverage a little bit better than that post curl does.
Okay.
We've run it with 1 on vertical, 3 over the ball, and 2, and we've worked it at about 8 yards. We did that a good bit a couple of years ago, and I know I saw somebody on here ask about running quarterback counter off of it. That's how we would set up our quarterback draw as well, and we would take that number 3, instead of running over the ball, we would actually go slam that mic and try to block him. But I like the presentation there with both the ways you guys are running, and it's a nice way to really, essentially throw curl, especially Trenton, the way you're showing it. And then, I'm with you, Coach Smith. I like putting that frontside safety in a bind with the post by 1. That's good stuff too.
I've got some. We had a lot of success with some double post wheel. I can put that on there.
Yeah, man. Let's see it.
So this kind of evolved for us. I know this isn't a very, complicated concept right here, but what we're doing is we're running double post wheel. So we're going to be number 1 on a high post. He's going to stick his route at 8 steps and target the goal post. Whereas we call it a flat post, and his aiming point is the front pylon of the opposite end zone. And then we're going to wheel from 3. Where I like the concept a lot for us is we bring the opposite number 2 or 1, just depending on how we tag it. He's going to be on a shallow, so it provides us a check down, and we've hit this quite a bit down the stretch. Obviously, our quarterback, he's pretty good. He's going to Kentucky. And you, in order to be able to throw that wheel, he's actually very late. He was very late on that throw. But what we got here is when if your quarterback doesn't have the arm like this kid does, when that flat defender, that nickel, strong safety, whatever it is, he chases that wheel with the shallow coming underneath, there's nobody in that grass. And a lot of times before we had Bo, I'm teaching this to throw that shallow. But when you got a kid that can throw like this,
where are you putting his eyes, Coach? Where's he looking progression wise?
We go high to the high post, to the flat post, to the wheel, to check down.
Okay.
So high. So we read routes. I know a lot of people read bodies. We read routes. So we're going to read high to the flat, to the wheel, down to the check down.
You're not working off the safety or the corner. You're throwing. You're working the route.
We're just working that route. I mean, obviously, we work so many reps in practice that I will coach him up on the movement of the safety through film because we film everything. But the way I teach it to the kids is more routes than actual movement of bodies.
Hey, Coach, have you ever thought about switching your inside two routes? We run the exact same concept, and I actually changed it because I made my number 3 run the underneath post.
Okay.
Because it occupied the mic and took the safety out of there right now. And then it opened up the shallow in the over post, in the bigger post. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that. I'll have to write that down.
Like, because my thing is I like to occupy people. You know, I like to look at it as, you know, if you're well coached, use that against them.
Yep.
So
exactly.
if the mic is going to wall 3, I kind of want him to wall 3 and take the safety with him.
Right.
I work the big post to the wheel to the shallow. I kind of took out the inside post. We're not going to throw that unless we see it now.
Right.
It'll be hot for us, but we want that mic to wall him and take the safety. And then we went from the big post to the wheel. But hell, if the mic takes that inside post, the shallow might be running for days.
Yes, sir.
Right. Absolutely.
That's one of my bigger plays, and we actually run it out of empty, like I put up there earlier. We would short motion, and like I said, I like to mess with teenagers' eyes. So on the weak side, I would make the inside wide receiver, which would be my X. I flip those guys, and I would make him run a slight fade.
Yep.
But I would short motion my outside receiver, which would be my running back. I like to get my running back involved. I would short motion him out of like, even though we're in empty, I would short motion him, and I would let him get his motor going and run the shallow.
Work
so he
the
would
shallow.
be the shallow.
Yep.
So I like to occupy. I would keep the weak side safety occupied with the fade, because if he rolls, I'm letting it ride with the fade. But that short motion gets your shallow going now, and like I said, the inside post occupies the mic and takes the safety out. So that shallow's in the picture pretty soon, but not too early. But you get what I mean. But like I like to do that. I love that play you just wrote up, and I actually was just messing around with it, and I flipped it, and it worked a lot for me this year.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
We've run a lot of double posts. We've never necessarily done it with 3 on the wheel, but it reminds me if anybody's like just straight up OG air raid, old school 93 in like the original air raid terminology, right? Where, 2's working that post to pull the safety, 3's on the wheel, but they would curl 1. And we got to a point when I was in a former life where we were posting 1, but he was reading it with the option to curl up.
Yeah.
Can be nasty.
This is I just wanted to show this real quick before anybody else jumped on, because this is with the push motion. So I feel like this is a little bit more unique. So we push the back. So the back is on the wheel.
Oh, yeah.
And then we whip number 3.
I like that.
Coach, do you guys ever run a sail with number 3?
I love that.
I like that.
Sail with number 3.
Like a 12-yard out?
This concept, but yes, we have. When we run sail, it's always with 3.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I really like it with the double post just because it clears all that space up, and that outside linebacker is usually chasing high. And if you just need to get a cheat, 10, 12 yards, and you got a quarterback that can make that opposite hash throw,
yeah,
and it's been good for us for a while now.
So with the push motion, go through your progression right there when you got the whip route right there. You got the little. I'm sure that's the check. Go, kind of tell me what you're telling your quarterback to do right here.
So nothing changes for our progression. Okay. The only thing that makes it difficult is for your tailback, because he has to now know, because he is becoming number 3. That's
right.
Him on the wheel. But we are going high post to the flat post to the wheel. Whip is the check down. So
Okay.
no matter where and how we're getting to double post wheel, that is your progression. It's how
all right. So the whip. You ever get to the whip?
Not this year.
That's hard.
But we do throw the shallow. I mean, this is a different look. This is the first time we ran the whip here.
Right.
We've thrown the shallow multiple times.
Sure.
We've had that's essentially if we want to get that shallow throw, because old school system shallow hasn't been very good to us. If we want to throw the shallow, we're either going to throw it off of 4 verts or that play right there, double close.
What do you do with your single receiver when you push the back and run it like that with the whip? What's your X doing backside?
He's doing a post curl.
Thank you.
And it's kind of a bastardized system because we got to it this year by tagging some things where I think I'm going to rename it. I'm thinking about calling it powder or peel because it's confusing because I built it off of a 2x2 install and I've kind of bastardized it to get it to where it is now. And it's kind of made it its own play. So
yeah,
I'm probably going to rename it.
Yeah, I like that, Coach. Thanks for sharing it.
No problem.
Anybody want to spread some love?
I don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Coach.
All right. This is, let me see. Let's see. Let me get my film. This is our, can y'all see this?
Not yet, Coach.
Okay.
Did you hit the share screen?
Well, I thought I did, but let me go back and hit it again.
And then once you hit it, make sure you select.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm best. All right. Now you can.
Yes, sir.
This is our, we call it elbow, and we put this in the first day. You can run it out of 2x2. We prefer it out of 3x1. What you're getting is number 3 has the ability to go in or out off the safety, or you can set it down. It's an old YPF. Any run and shoot guys remember slide PF, where number 3 can go either direction. That's pretty much what it is. Number 2 is going to push up. He's running a shitty in, and number 1's running a shittier in at about 5 yards. If we feel like the single receiver is going to he's got a single route, and for us that's 3 different things. It can be that pivot out like Coach Deweese was showing earlier. We just call it pivot. He can run a coke, which is for some of you guys a bang 8, a quick slant post, or he can just fade it up. And so that's his 3 basic things. So he can run an out, he can run a post, he can run a fade, and really that's just off the leverage of whatever's left. But just for some context, this is 4th and 10 in the 4th quarter of our playoff game this year that we lost in the last 10 seconds by 1 point. And I'm a little raw over still, but this is how much faith we have in this play. And right here, we're just throwing the splash down corner. You see the safety. We're running off this guy. He's inside leverage right now. He knows he's going. It's a high 25-yard, 30-yard corner route. Just splash it down. You can see the other 2 routes are bending inside, just looking for grass. But we were throwing it. We call this kid our whoopee because when stuff gets tight, we're throwing it to the whoopee. Everybody has their favorite blanket. Well, that was our kid's favorite blanket. This is against South Lake Carroll. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
If y'all know much about Texas football, and if you don't, that's fine. But again, safety's inside. So he and the quarterback both know that he's going to the high corner. This kid's pushing up and getting in this void. This kid's pushing and getting right here in this void.
So what is, other than the corner, what's the other option for number 3?
Off the leverage of the safety. If the safety is outside, like they're trying to play some type of roll.
Yep. He's
now going to push and keep it skinny right off his inside hip. And if he completely just stacks him, okay, talking about the hash being closed. If the hash is capped, whatever term you use, he's going to set it down at about 12 to 15, and if he sets it down, he can set in or out, either one. Okay, but the quarterback is taking what we call a tech drop, and by that I mean he can get as much depth as he needs to. If it's a 5-step drop, he can take it because he's going to give this dude as much time as he possibly can to work this guy. This guy is at Clemson now, playing safety, and we took much joy in wearing him out as much as we could in this game because he talked a heap of caca. But you can see what 2 bending in does to the down safety. Just takes his eyes just long enough that the ship passes in the night.
We've run the concept with 3 on the corner. We have a tag where 3's on the basic. I've never had him read number 3, and it's something I've considered doing, but I haven't actually had a chance to talk to somebody that does it. So I like the fact that you're you're giving 3 the option to read the cap and read the space available.
And right here, this is just get on your horse. I mean, he's pressed up. You know, everybody else is just going to stand still almost because they know 3's just working him. You know, and this was a deal where this kid, the kid that's catching the ball, he liked catching corner routes better than he liked catching slot fades. So we ran a corner with him, and really it was, you know, against press coverage, just whatever you want. But you can see the quarterback getting back there and giving him time. That quarterback was 6'3" and 260.
Run that again from the beginning, Coach, if you don't mind.
Sure. We told everybody he was 240, but that was a lie.
So Jared Lorenzen?
Something like that. We just called him the wide 15. But you can tell everybody else is running right now slants, and the quarterback knows if we feel like we're getting any pressure, Coach, this kid is going to speed his slant up and get underneath the vertical push, and that's your protected hot throw right there. Or we can always work the single if we want to, but that's really one of these 2 guys are getting the ball on this play 90% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, you see it right there. He's got the slant underneath. One step it and give it to him.
Now this is against Denton Geyer. They're pretty good too. They make me have nightmares. But you can see right here, and this kind of goes to what I think you were talking about earlier, Coach. He's going, you know, his safety is already pre-rotated, so he's thinking, you know, some type of post route. He sees this guy getting over the top, so he's just going to keep breaking it flatter. Now we don't complete this one, but it just shows what else he can do.
Yeah.
Coach, in your years that you had lesser offensive linemen, which is pretty rare in your neck of the woods, I'd say, would y'all do a push motion to the single guy? That way you're getting hopefully a peel or a mic off so that you know your protection.
Coach, we are, and somebody was asking earlier, we early our back quite a bit, and we really like it out of 11 personnel because we'll run like inside stick with number 3 and the back, or bring him to the single and run inside stack with the single and get the back on the flare, which is basic stuff, but still having that tight end in there because we're a huge counter team and we love GY counter. So now I can run quarterback GY counter or throw inside stick and hit it pretty quick. So yes, sir, we are not opposed to motioning him. Now, if we do it to this play, we're always going to send him weak.
Yeah, right. That's
To make this backside safety now be honest.
He's got to stay home. Okay.
Yeah. And we were pretty fortunate. We were able to get our hands on all 15 of LSU's games this year. Coach copies, and you know their favorite little route is to tighten him down.
Yep.
And put him on a corner and run the back to the flat or motion him out here early.
Yep.
And all they're trying to do is keep this backside safety from affecting all their players are over here. You know, they've got the tight end and the back over here, but they're taking up 3 bodies when they do it.
Thank you, Coach.
Here in this one is one time. This is our backup quarterback in our playoff game from the year before. That was our best receiver that we had to move to quarterback. But here it is on the see. Here he is. They bust their own coverage, which we appreciate. But he's still, his safety's outside already. They're trying to wall him with 2. And all you got, I mean, everybody, if your best player can't beat their linebacker, you're not winning that game anyway. Now, or we're not. And Coach Corley, we very seldom, this offensive line we had 2 years ago at Keller High School was the best offensive line we've had in 10 years.
Okay.
This past year, our best offensive lineman was a 235-pound kid that's just cock strong and mean.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so I completely understand moving bodies around to occupy linebackers. But this is a gimme. He's selling it inside the whole way.
You can tell the corner's expecting the safety right there. Or he's expecting, or the safety's expecting the corner route.
Yes,
100%. That's a good route by that kid.
Yeah. And so, and again, it's something that's simple because we run levels off of all of our, because we don't have a quick pass protection. Everything is, we can always hand the ball off. And so everything is just a run play. And so we run levels where number 3 pushes up 10 to 12 and sits down, and 2 and 3, or 1 and 2, excuse me, run the same route they run on elbow.
Yep.
So what helps us is we run so much levels that when we do push and read that safety, we can really, that screws with him even more, because now all of a sudden he ain't stopping.
Right.
And so, thank y'all for letting me share that.
Yeah, no, Coach, I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Anybody else got something good?
Coach, I got some stuff.
Yeah, man, give it to us.
I'm not going to pull any film up or anything just because I didn't talk to my head coach about it. But I'm just going to show you some of one of our main concepts we've done over the last 2 years. I'm in Mississippi at a 6A high school on North Chris Rankin. Most of you guys probably run it off of R4 stuff, but it's the shallow, and we're going to go rhythm. It's a 5-step. We're going to go 10 to 12 dig, and then we've got our 2 hot routes with the 3 to hills drive, and then we've got our back and our backside receiver over here. They're going curl flat. We're going 2 high side, 1 high side, and if we want to take a shot off that 1, he still has the option off of the 1. The way we tell our guy to run that post, he's not going to ever cross the goalpost. He's also going to get that thing skinny.
Stay skinny.
Yeah. So we can hit it 1 high. Just depends on what that safety does, 1 high or 2 high. So if he pre-snap, 2 high, and then pro-snap, 1 high, he's also going to have that option too off that. But one thing I really like about this concept, though, is we have 5 tags off of it, and nobody's jobs really change. If we change it, it's going to be the read guy. And that's what's really nice about it. We try to keep stuff simple.
Yeah.
So I'm going to draw up just a few of them real quick and just show you how we manipulate it a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's our main one we do. We practice it all the time. We get down to 3rd and 8 or whatever it may be, that's what we're going to run. So we call it tech. If we wanted to run it to the right, we call it Raider. We've got tech out, and all it does is just changes that read guy, and it really just turns into flood with the post. We got tech out off of it, same thing. But it really doesn't change. The only thing I will say is it changes for us. If we call it, he's not going to go to the backside at all, just because we know we're getting a certain situation off of it, and we're gonna throw it to that side. Coach Luis, you've already kind of run it, but our other one we'd run off of it is called Storm, and 1 and 2 are going to switch responsibilities. One's going to run that bender kind of, and number 2 is going to be the dig guy. And the reason why we do that, just give it a change up, just to change it up a little bit. That guy's going to be bending in the middle of the field. Number 1's going to be running the dig, but nothing has changed for those guys so far. That's one reason why we like it.
Do you typically bring the shallow from the boundary to the field, or do you guys care? Will you bring the shallow from the field the other way?
We don't really care. It just depends. It's just honestly, we got one guy who's really good.
Yeah.
So sometimes it just depends on where he's at. If we'll bring him on the shallow, or we try to get him the ball. And he's most of the time that guy we're calling the tag to, just because we know if we can get him on that ball.
Yeah.
The one thing about protection, we're gonna slide half-man combo away from it basically, and our back is always gonna shoot away to the call, because we had a 175-pound back this year, and he ain't blocking nobody in 6A football. So we try to get that guy out as much as possible on that curl flat combo. And believe it or not, they don't cover the back, like you guys said already. They don't cover the back. We got a ton of cheap yards just throwing him, because if you bring 5 or 6, we tell our guys, if you're the drag, you can get it right now.
Yep.
Or if you're the back, you can get it right now. Thing is, if they peel with it, now we've got it protected either way still. Another tag, this is where it kind of changes rules just a little bit. We'll call rub off of it. And Rub, for us, we had a team that played in the state championship this past year that, I mean, they were cover zero, and they were bringing 5, 6, however many guys you had in the box, they were bringing it. So we had to manipulate the play a little bit. We called Rub. Basically, all it did is it turned into a version of mesh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is mesh. The only thing we changed is our guy who would normally run the dig would be the setter, and he's not getting the ball. So this would be what we call tech rub. And again, we have the post. We got our back. He is now to the play side just because he has a two-way go to get the guy the shallow or here. Yep. And the thing that really was funny is this guy would get the ball and he would turn into a lead blocker.
Yep.
And so, you know, the same play, but we've exchanged plays, I guess, but for our kids' responsibilities and our quarterback's read, it really hasn't changed a whole lot.
And you know, that's what it boils down to, teaching. And when you feel like your kids are having to learn less, as long as your quarterback can process what the difference is, it's a great way to structure things. So do you ever, going back to your original concept, and I'm going to share my screen real quickly, Coach, instead of sending the back and the flat, and it looks like you guys operate out of the pistol a lot, do you ever wheel the back?
Yeah, that was my last one I was going to show you is that concept. So the last one we do is what we call wheel. And again, it's a tag. Like our back is always going away unless he gets a tag that's to him, or if we call max, then we're going to 7-man protect. And we got this from the team who actually, but that's it right there for us. Okay. Except now this guy's dead. He's not getting the ball. It will be rhythm, read. You still got your.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like the way you guys do that. So I talking to him for you Georgia guys, Woodstock High School and Brent Buddy and those guys, coaching against them for a while, and the way they run shallow, I like it. And I don't know where they got it. I don't know if it's an Noel Mazzoni thing. Who knows? But they keep the same structure as what Coach Cheatham just showed. But instead of sending the back and the flat, they wheel him into the boundary. And when you think about it, what they've built is a two high mills concept, right? Where, you know, you're working the high-low on the front side safety with a nice, easy check down. And if you're getting single high, you're working that horizontal stretch now with that wheel route. So when they get man free, they get a chance to hit the big play to the tailback. But when it's cover 3, they end up a lot of times, you hold the inside backer with the shallow, him trying to collision it, and you open up that snag window into the boundary. And I think it's a really great way to run shallow with that snag on the backside. And that may be something all you guys are doing. And whether the tailback is in the wheel or in the flat, I think it's a nice compliment because, again, you've got the two high with the natural shot play built in to work the front side safety. But you really create a nice window backside. We worked it some last year for some different formations. I love working 3-man game into the boundary and doing different things there. And instead of running true spacing, we felt like sending 2 on the shallow here really helped open up this window into the flat even more. So I like the way that you guys do that, Coach, just off of your base install of that play. It's a good way, guys. I know a lot of people are going to run a vertical or they're going to run that out route naturally with shallow, and a lot of guys will even post this guy. I'm a big fan of putting the post behind the dig to create the high-low versus quarters, but also, creating that single high beater over here. And then, Nick, if you're still in here, I know when you were at Alpharetta with Jake, you guys did a good job of mixing it up and being able to get number 2 on the out route, just like Coach Cheatham just showed. Because, again, if you're a quarters team, man, if you're a quarters team, you can really put this safety in a bind, because you can sit there and work all week long. Hey, if you get a dig cut, keep your depth and let's rally because you're getting backers underneath to help, because, I always told my guys, when we were playing y'all, is that Mike, as soon as he gets shallow, he's going to turn in the opposite direction and he's going to drive hard for that dig right now. Well, as soon as you start working that out cut right there, you've put us in a hell of a bind. And if my Sam linebacker was going to work hard to get to the flat and take away the out route, well, I mean, hell, there's your shallow. You've just opened it up. So it's tough when you present both looks, I think, to that quarter safety. I think, also obviously against cover two, I think it can be effective as well. But especially if we're attacking quarters, I love mixing up the cut of that number two to that side.
You'll leave that up.
Absolutely. And I another wrinkle to that, Pete, that we found was really good was not only digging that outside guy, but digging the inside guy, but digging the outside guy as well.
Yeah, you started running skinny with number two and running the dig. And I know Coach showed that a minute ago. I feel like middle of the field, that's such a great call. I mean, I've always been, and, it was one that I considered talking about tonight. But if I'm getting quarters, man, I've always been a fan of clear out with the dig.
Yep, that's exactly.
And so
that was our best concept this year. That's the best. That's our best concept. The easiest concept. It's
Coach Allen, do y'all run when y'all run that backside? Do y'all run it with a fade out concept?
On the backside, you're asking, Nick?
Yeah. On the backside of that, do y'all run a fade out concept, or what are y'all doing on the backside?
Trip or PJ?
Yeah.
We just most time we run spike on the backside, a 12 back to 10. We'll come out of the H or the outside receiver. That's the gift. That'll be the gift. That's what we'll do most time.
Yeah, I'm a middle of the field. It's a great tag for it.
Yeah.
And curl this guy however you want to treat it.
Yeah. We'll gift him on the backside. We really like what we call spike. If we're one-on-one, we'll throw the spike concept back there. That's pre-snap. That's pre-snap.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete or Ben, back to your tech concept. Is it possible for either one of you guys to run that out of trips? I've seen a team run that concept out of trips. Maybe it don't give you the same aspect, but he runs it out of trips. It's a team up here at Cane Ridge. They actually went to state, and they will motion from doubles, and they will go to trips. And that shallow hits right now, but they throw the dig before he really gets to his dig concept.
Ben, do y'all run it like that, Ben?
Yeah, the thing with it out of trips, and it can get kind of funky for us, is because it starts changing some kids' rules. So really, when we start running it, we really try to stay too high. I'll draw it up for you what it looks like out of three. You lose the curl backside. So for me, that's the reason why I don't particularly like it. What we're tinkering about doing with it is instead of running that guy running a mesh or that shallow, is having them run a whip, because it still represents that same view for that quarterback of having that third guy coming across. And then that way you don't lose it. So that would so you still would whip that guy back out. So for the quarterback, he's still got that guy coming across in his eyes. And it doesn't really change their rules when you do it like that. That guy just knows now I've got the whip instead of running across.
We do that. We have number two whip.
Yeah, have number two. Well, we've done the same thing where we'll 3 on the seam, 2 on the whip. So Ben,
that would be switch.
Right. Yeah. When y'all run it like that, do you give 3 a landmark or a step? Like, is he 5 steps in before he pushes out? How do you 3?
3, just because 3, 2, he gets his eyes to the quarterback too. Again, for pressure purposes, he can replace in that window of the linebacker.
Yeah.
And it still has his backside check with the running back who's hot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you still have 2 hots. In the double max system, you've got your vertical threat too as a third one. So you have 3 hots, which is why we're trying to figure out how we can keep everything the same. But that whip is pretty good.
We've run it like this, Coach, out of 3x1. And we tell him pre-snap, basically if the corner's inside leverage, then what we end up doing is we kind of rhythm the dig, read the wheel route, and rush the shallow. If the corner's outside leverage, we rhythm the dig, read the post. But that's also honestly one of our favorite ways to work our curl flat concept is now work that post curl or dig. To Coach Katz's point earlier, we really teach it more like a dig than we do a true curl. But we just work this seam now. Tell him, if for some reason he can bend and cross face, he does. But now we rhythm this seam route, read out here based on cornerback's leverage, and then we rush. We feel like it gives us the same high-low. And I'll be honest, guys, my quarterback is 5'10", and my offensive line last year averaged 6'4". So we were not good at shallow because you couldn't see the damn thing,
Hey, do y'all ever run Y cross with your W receiver right there?
So right here, yeah.
Same kind of concept?
Yeah. Here we don't. When we're going to do that, we go ahead and like I know LSU and so many of those guys now are running, a similar Y cross or verts where they're going to be, under 1, over 2, and they're going to climb and they're going to work some type of an option route here. We have not run it like that. We just keep him vertical. But I mean, clearly it works for people.
We run it. We don't run it a ton that way, but we do run it.
Yeah. Yeah. We will run traditional Y cross and we'll X vertical there. We've definitely done that out of 3x1.
What we'll do is we'll go trips into the boundary and go Y cross
back to the field.
Push the back. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Coach Katz, what were you saying?
Coach Allen asked me to share a couple of things, but since y'all just mentioned cross real quick, we've not been a big cross team here at Brookwood, but we will be next year because we got the personnel to do it and the quarterback to teach all that stuff to. 3x1, our base way of doing it. Okay, whether we're going to tag cross, and I don't know if that's good or bad, right? We're going to tell who we want to run the cross, okay, and everybody else is going to know what to do off of that. But talking about putting 4 to a side, that's the way we're going to do. We have the ability to do cross. So if you're looking at it here, okay, 1's on the alert. The X is the alert. If it's man coverage and you like it, take it. Let's move on. Quit coaching football. And then the next to your 3-man side, whoever we tag on the cross out of the Y or H will run the cross, and the next guy is going to run a follow route. So our thinking there is if the will insulates the crosser, right, gets hands on, or if they're in cover 3 quarters, Mike gets hands on. We're just going to replace that so the quarterback, if he doesn't like the cross, his eyes naturally come right in front of him. If the dude's wide open in front of you, throwing the ball. If not, if the backers are hugging, then we're going back to what we build our whole offense on passing game. We love throwing digs. Now you're going dig, and if you ever get to it, whatever that fat chick comment was earlier, that was hilarious. The late fat chick, right? That back is going to be wide open. And then like you guys were talking about earlier that I absolutely love is put him there, right? And then let's take this dude from across the quarterback, flash him, and then push him to the field.
Yeah.
And so that's the way when we do cross out of 3x1, that'll be our base rules. Whoever's on the cross is on the cross. The next one's on the follow route or the hunt route. Dig behind it, push him to the field.
I think anytime you're running cross, especially versus a 4-man front where they've got to decide where they want to play that strong safety,
right,
bringing that guy across is great. Just because it's dictating what that backside linebacker's got to do.
Right. And then so that's, and I don't have any film. That's something we've just looked at during chronocation that we want to do when we get back because of the players we got. We got really good slot players this year. We have nobody on the outside. We have guys who are worse than me, and I'm terrible. So we can't take the top off, so we need to cross people up inside. Trip, you wanted to show Spike. I left the call, so I'm not really sure why.
Show him some whiskey and then some spot with the gift on the backside.
Gotcha. So,
Coach, I've been meaning to ask, what's your signal for whiskey? Because I love it.
Just touch your face.
Touching the face?
Yeah, like whisper. Yeah. It's not. We have that. We have that too. That was
our offensive line probably is hungover and smells like it, so we probably should push his ass out there.
So
that's the sign of a good offensive lineman.
It actually came from Coach Corley. You're going to work with him, Coach Pickett, your OC. When he was at Brookwood, we tagged all our passing game by drinks. Don't ask me why. It's what we did. So, well, I like whiskey, so we kept it after he left. So we just call it whiskey, because we had Coke, which was an out route, and whiskey was the dig route. So I don't know. Put whiskey in your Coke.
I mean, I like whiskey too. Hell.
Yeah, exactly. The kids remember it.
Big fan.
So right here is spike, which Coach Corley would be another term you hear a bunch in your offense. Okay, so what we're teaching, and guys, I was out of the call, so if somebody's already said this, somebody please tell me to be quiet. We're teaching number 2 to wall the overhang. Okay, I don't care what the safety's doing. I care what the overhangs are doing. So now if he reduced, right, they bring him off the edge. So now there's my overhang if they're spinning to cover 3. But I want to wall the overhang, and then once I clear him, I want to turn inside and give my numbers. So you can see Big Sam right there motoring down the field. He's walling that overhang, and Sam takes a while to stop, talking about my Y right here. He should now stop and work in that window in case the overhang buzzes out underneath the flats. What we really want to do is hold the overhang. Like I tell him, get covered, run into him. This is definitely not appropriate, but defensive guys always want to touch you. So let him touch you and then find your window. So that's one look at it.
Run through his outside arm. Run into his outside armpit.
12 back to 10. We like to turn inside.
Come back down the stem.
So we talked about that in another talk, I think. I think you, Coach Corley, even said it. I think you guys are a turn inside. I just think it's an easier throw and it's an easier catch, and there's less room for error.
Agreed.
So if we're in 3-by-1, he would go to the opposite hash, whoever number 3 is. I'm trying to see if I have a clip of that. I just made this cut up really fast. One sec, guys. All right, here you go. So if you got a number 3, he's going to push opposite hash. And back to Coach's comment, no, it's not under 1/2. It's best available release. Get to the hash. If they spin on us and play cover 3, then you better be looking for that ball because our quarterback will throw it to you. Okay, oh, that's actually verts, but you can, same concept with him going and him finding the window. So then you wanted to see whiskey real fast, which I need. Speaking of whiskey, it looks like Coach Deweese's cup is empty.
It is. It's unfortunate.
So whiskey for 2-by-2 guys, we actually mirror it. Okay. But how many times do we actually get to line up 2-by-2 ball in the middle of the field? The H is wrong right here. This is the H. All right. What he should be doing if he gets man coverage is working to that outside shoulder. We call it a pivot route, where you work to the outside shoulder, you stop, look back at the quarterback, and then work away. Mm-hmm. But by mirroring it in 2-by-2 with the ball in the middle of the field, we think it gives our quarterback the best option to pick a side and work a side. And it gives him the ability, pre-snap, he can look and say, okay, where's my biggest dig window to my best player? Well, this guy was really good, and that guy was not very good. So he's going to lock this side, and there we go. That's 3rd and 22. And they're playing some form of cover 3 and big play. So here we are again. So that's how it should look right there. We got the slappies in right here. The Z doesn't run the right route, but the H should push up, sit, take a picture, then work away. We've determined that when you do that, right or wrong, that Sam linebacker, the overhang, always, he can't stand it but to run with the out route.
Yep.
There's another look at it right here. So once again, 2-by-2, pick a side, work a side, or mirrored up. We've never had any problems with them running into each other on the digs because we only call it when the ball is around the middle of the field. If we get on a hash, we're going to get into where we tag front side whiskey, backside is going to do, a swap concept, post wheel concept, something to help us with cover 3. And here's if you get a lot of pressed up, right? Just put them behind, motion them out. That way you can get that free release. And there we go. Good throw, good catch. So once again, the H that's wrong. And I changed the name. I used to tell the kids it's a whip, so they would go run that when they got nervous. And that's a sophomore right there. It's not a whip. It's more of a pivot. Take a picture and get away. So
yeah, we've always called it a pull route because we tell them your job is to pull that dude to the flat.
Yep.
Right. That's a good word too. Yeah, pull.
How deep are you running the dig there, Coach?
12 yards.
Yep.
And depending on skill of the player, if he's really good at running routes, we'll speed cut it.
Yeah.
And if he's not great, he'll break it down at the top. And that just comes through practice and routes on air. A quarterback figures out, am I with this kid? Am I 3 and a hitch in a ball, or am I 3 and I better get the ball out of my hands? So
a lot of times I'll tell the receiver, we'll tell them, hey, run at 14 because I know they're going to run it at 12.
Yep.
I learned that over the years too. Tell them to run a farther. They never run the correct. They always cut it short. So I'll tell them run 14 and then they'll run 12. We'll be right where we need to be.
So I got a question for some of you guys, and it's just let me see real quick. Let me share real quick because I want to see if anybody's done this. So talking Wycross, people have different feelings about it. I've certainly got mine. So you're under 1, over 2, running out of bounds, all the fun stuff. Whether you post it on the backside or you post curl, however you treat it. There's a lot of guys now that instead of working that pivot route or that pull route or even the speed out by number 2, by the H here, some guys I know started to shallow H. But what's kind of become in vogue recently is dudes are giving that H a true option route. And they're giving him a 3-man, 3 choices. He can sit, he can pull back to the outside, or he can pretty much turn it into a delayed shallow right
Troy's
now.
doing it that way.
Who is?
Troy University.
Yep. And that makes sense.
Hoover used to do that. That's how Hoover did it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't decide. Part of it, the logic behind it makes a lot of sense to me. At the same time, I can't decide if I love it, So I was just curious if anybody else was teaching it like that.
I think it's a lot of work. I think you got to really work it to get good at it because
feel the same way.
I thought he was going here and he went there. It's really, I think it takes a lot of work.
I think it makes it expensive for a very simple
yes.
But
absolutely.
My
the other
thing
thing
is
that Mike Leach is doing right now at Mississippi State, they're actually running sail on the backside of it,
yeah,
and they're treating it like a gift.
I've seen that.
If you like leverage on it, throw the sailor out. If you don't, work your cross concept.
Yep.
I like that.
We got from Oklahoma. Oklahoma runs fast screen over there. They run smash over. They put 5 different concepts in the boundary. But my question about what you drew up is when he shallows across. So is it I don't get the ball because we run Skippy or we run we let him do his thing.
Yeah.
So if he eliminates, is that when he takes off? Because to me now you're getting another body to the throw.
My understanding was what the kid was basically taught was if you get like a nickel that's outside leveraged, right, and you work your slow release and he's outside leverage or a safety spinning down to work that skiff technique, that as you recognize that, you're going to nod outside and break hard flat and try to cross face, with the idea being now, if I go back to it, if they're, if there's 2 backers in the box, the idea being now by this point, the wheel has either dropped into this curl to get underneath it and you've created a natural window for yourself, or he's expanded out to you and you have a chance to work inside. So that's kind of was my understanding based off my conversation was if you got somebody outside, you were going to push, he's taking away the pull route. So you break in. If he's on top of you, you want to pull him, work outside. And then if he just, if something happened late where a dude spun and went straight to the flat, that's where now you would work the little hitch. In my mind, it makes sense if you take the shallow off the page, right? Now it's an easy read for the quarterback. Give him an option to hitch or out. The 3 options there, I'm with, like what Coach Field said, it just seems awfully expensive for one concept.
Yes.
Hey, we're going through that kind of look off play action. I have to show it to you. It's something I used to do a long time ago. Let's try to pull this up. Not very good technology.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
You didn't learn that at West Georgia, Coach?
No, Trip, the only thing we were doing in West Georgia, we got to play Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
That
You were stealing exams.
Yeah, that's a story there to that. Trips in I got 5 favorite stories in college, and trips in most of them. So this is, it's north side, it's drawn up, but north of the mess though, we're going to fake the power play action here, but just reading this, the safety here. This, we're throwing here, so we're telling our quarterback, if we're throwing the post over the top, we're throwing this underneath this guy, and we'll put this into the boundary. And that Z is the late guy to throw it to.
Yep. I love, if you formation into the boundary, it's a great way. So many teams like to bring some version across from the field into the boundary. But if you go FTB, and especially off play action, that's a great way to get back across the field.
Part of this is everybody works so much front side when they throw the play action stuff.
Yep.
And we're trying to do something to tag back over here. When I was wing T 100 years ago, we used to strong somebody hop off, and we murdered people doing this. And people have gotten away from doing that. They're spinning down, getting that third safety, that safety in the box. We think we can get this guy running and catch the easy post. But it's kind of the same thought process.
I like it though.
I don't know how to undo this now. How do you get it off the share screen?
Go back to the top. There should be a red button that says stop share.
Here, Pete, I got something for you. Well, what just happened?
Well, you got the news, Coach.
Yeah, that was not what I thought was going to pop up. Good thing it wasn't something else. So what we did, this is our district rival. We've been playing them for years. Typically, whoever wins this game is going to make a deep run in the playoffs. But what we have figured out, they're a 4-2-5 team, and they want to play quarters. So if you go empty, three-man side into the boundary, they're going to put that nickel over there, and they're going to play quarters over here. So we ran double post, and we ran shallow cross over top, and just ran a drive concept and ran a comeback over here to hold that corner, and we ate them up. And we made it real simple. We told the quarterback, just peek the double post, and then come down and look to your cross down to your shallow. One of them's going to pop because they just don't have the hats. And we ate them up with it.
That's nasty, Coach.
Yeah, that's good. You put those backers there, they got problems.
Yeah, and it's simple, boys. I mean, this is not anything complex. This is really, we installed this in 2 days. And the kids got it and they executed it. You know what I mean? I mean, you can make it complicated. There's a lot of ways to make it complicated, but keep it simple is what I say. We carry a lot of stuff. We carry maybe too much, maybe, I don't know. But, we keep it simple and do a lot of different concepts the same way from different formations.
Yeah, I like that.
Talking about concepts, how many concepts do y'all carry? We only carry 4, and then we'll tag stuff.
I'll pull up my call sheet.
Yeah, I've done it like that, Coach, where everything was off of tags, and that was the same kind of deal. We carried 4 to 5, and everything had 2 or 3 tags, and what we carried in a week, whatever. Mm-hmm. Now I don't know. I probably carry, into a game, counting quick game that's not RPO'd. I probably carry 7 or 8, and 1 or 2 of them might have adjustment tags, But I say I carry 7 and 8. I don't like it. I'd like my number to be lower.
That was like that concept, the tech concept. We carry we have those for the whole year, but we only carry maybe 2 or 3 of it.
Yeah.
Of that version for the week.
Yep.
Just depending on what that team does.
Yep.
We carry everything in, but our game plan is driven probably by 4 or 5. Does that make sense? So we're going to drill hard and practice throughout the week those 4 or 5 that we like. But we expect our kids to be able, if we like something, in the second quarter, because we see something that we didn't see on film, they need to know what they're doing, and they need to be able to, come back to what we've done, from the summer.
How many do you guys install a week? Like, so say if we're starting up tomorrow, how many do you, or Monday, how many runs and passes do you guys install a week?
New ones?
Yeah, just say it's the first day of practice.
For a game week, usually
Just say like
for
for
spring
game.
ball. Yeah.
Well, spring ball, right.
I mean, if it's us, we start the install process early. And so we're going to spend a month meeting once a week with our kids before we ever hit the field. So we might have our entire run game, at least the entire run game we plan to work in the spring, and almost all the passing game installed in theory. But day one on the field, I'm running, a drop back, a quick game, 2 play actions, and that's it. So, and then that's all we're running for 2 or 3 days.
Hey,
So,
Pete, I've actually got our install pulled up here. If y'all want
yeah,
to see.
I'd love to see it.
Yep. So here's a copy of our install, and we worked on 3-day installs, right? So, we were putting in 3 formations for the first 3 days, a couple different motions, and then, our drop back game was 3 plays, and then 2 plays the next day. So within 1 week, we were installing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 plays. And then the second week, we do kind of the same stuff, just out of our trips looks. So that was kind of how we did it. But we tried to get, like I said, about 7 of them in 1 week.
Yeah.
And then just kind of repeat those 3 installs, kind of throughout spring or throughout the off season. And then once we got to spring, we had just about everything installed.
I'll say this too. There's years where my installs accelerated because of my quarterback. Mentally, when the kid gets it, it's for what we do. It's not hard to teach the receivers. That doesn't mean they're going to be right every time, but it's about what your quarterback can handle. And like I said in the very beginning, if we're not keeping it simple for the offensive line, then I've been abducted or I'm held at gunpoint. So for those guys, it's not hard. Execution may be hard just because of who they are and how they're built, but the rest of it, whatever. But for me, it's so much about just what can your quarterback handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'd have like a little session here and then go out without a ball or a tennis ball or something.
Yep.
And go out and run through, a mini script. We have like a little schedule right here for the time that we're in. We're in for,
Yep.
I think something we do at Lexington Catholic that I got from Trinity out of Louisville is starting the first week in January when we get back from Christmas break, we have a weekly hour-and-a-half quarterback meeting. So, it's all, it's just board work and watching film. It's nothing crazy, but those kids buy in. And if I feel like the quarterback understands what I'm thinking, then we're going to have a ton of success, even if he's limited with his ability.
Do you other guys start that early? Do y'all start in January with your quarterback stuff?
I do, yeah. I actually have a good template that I use that has been pretty cool for me. Let me see if I can't pull it up here. But I start doing this, and this is kind of just the basic version of it. But starting in January, I'll get this pulled up with my quarterbacks, and what I'll do is I'll put this on a whiteboard. And basically, I just get them to draw, I'll say, hey, here's ace, right? Yep. And here's ace against a 4-3 cover 2 look. And what you're going to do is I just want you to draw up, I've got a script, and I'm calling out the script, and you're going to draw that up. And if the route ends in the green zone, then I know it's a good against that coverage. If it ends in the red zone, then I know I'm probably not going to have a chance to throw it. And I just, like I said, project that up onto a whiteboard and start just rolling through our different concepts. And I got all of our different formations on here. And I can send that to anybody that wants it. But I've got all of our different formations and it all drawn up kind of, there. And I'm just having them draw it on the board as I call it out.
Are any of you guys using Ready List?
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, Jake Plummer that used to play for the Broncos.
Yeah.
He and the guy that was his backup quarterback have started this deal. And very much like what Coach just showed us, I can send it to them on their phones.
Yeah, and we're using Just Play for that. So
okay. Yeah, Just Play is very I think is kind of like, but like with me, I can send our kids that coverage and then have them draw, like just like what Coach said, but they can do it on their phone. They can be doing it in class, if they have time. But I can send them quizzes. and anything, but it's a nice technology thing that I get immediate feedback, because when they hit submit, I find out I get a notification on my phone that Wes just took his test and he got 14 of the 15 routes correct. Well, so now I can look at what Wes got wrong, and then we can correct that when we meet. But we use that through the season, through spring ball, and it's really helped us.
I just pulled up the website, and I have seen the website before, you know, and looking at the pricing. But you guys like it? You think it makes sense financially?
Coach, it's for all of our offense. We have an offensive ready list and a defensive ready list. It costs $100 to get for all the offensive coaches to be on one, and then it's $5 a kid. You know, I don't know how, even for y'all's booster, I mean, I don't know how y'all's booster clubs are. We're very fortunate where I am. We don't have good players, but we have.
Yeah, it always works out that way, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't be rich, and I could have a rich school with players. They're 4 miles to the east of us, but it has really helped us because I can send on Sunday. I send all my quarterbacks, and let me be honest, I don't. We've got a very smart young running back coach that does this for me, but he sends on ready list all their basic coverages with the numbers of the players in those positions, with the routes. If we're putting in a new play, they get that new play. Anything that, say, we ran a concept 3 weeks ago, but now we're going to bring it back for this week. I can slide that in. It gives them multiple choice tests for all 4 players or all 5 receivers, who they're reading. They have to tell me that, and it really has. It's easy. It's very user friendly, and I don't know how much time you guys get. I'm also the head girls track coach. So in the spring, we do football in the morning, then you got track practice, and then we go to, we have spring football in the morning. And so finding time to meet with those quarterbacks, we do it for 3 weeks for 45 minutes a day, 4 days a week. And so I don't start in January, but mine's more crammed, labor intensive leading up to the start of spring football. But Ready List has helped me disseminate more information throughout the day.
Ready List seems different than other things because you can like quiz them through Ready List.
Yep.
Yeah, because we use Visio with Pro Quick Draws plugin for our drawing software and for building the playbook, the installs. You can't quiz on there, but I can also put it on the Huddle, and the kids can see everything right now on Huddle as a presentation, but there's no quizzing feature, so that is interesting.
Yeah, no, and that's really, Coach, that's really been the best part, because a kid gets it, because we're on 1.5 hour classes. So a kid's got 30 minutes at the end of algebra. He can get on there and quiz himself. He takes the quizzes that I give him, but then the feedback that I get immediately is what's really good, because I get your feedback plus the other.
They talking about quizzes.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, Coach.
Oh no, I'm not trying to sell the product. I just know that if you have, it's another way to steal some time with your kids where you can communicate with them back and forth.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Fellas, anybody got anything else they want to share? I know we do 2 of these a week, and this will be the second one this week that's run up on 2 hours, but it's been good, man. Coach Milanis, there's a question on there. Somebody asking, can you send us the template? Would you mind in the chat?
That's me, Coach.
Okay,
you need my email address or?
Yeah, I'm going to put my email in here, and if you will just email me, I'll shoot it over to you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Don't mind sharing that with everybody.
Absolutely. I just put my email in there.
It's in the chat, fellas.
Just shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to send it over.
Yeah, hold on, let me see that.
All right, boys, I'm going to hop out.
All right, man.
Thanks a lot.
Take care, Fields. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, did everybody get that email address?
Got it, Coach. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Hey, guys, man, I very much appreciate it. I got some awesome stuff tonight. I've got some really good notes written down, and I always make sure to write down who to talk to. Moving forward, we've got I think there's a chance we've got a couple more college guys that are willing to come on and talk, and I'll put that out there as I'm allowed to once I talk to them. But I know moving forward, kind of got some ideas on different things to talk about and focus on. I'm trying to kind of pull up my little makeshift schedule that I've been keeping. But we're going to come back on Monday, and my plan right now is we're going to talk a little bit about offensive structure and design, how you actually build out your offense, and maybe just write down how you call formations and protections and what games are you playing as far as, to create those teaching cues for your kid. And then I've also asked if he's available, Coach Katz is going to come on and talk to us a little bit about Visio and Pro Quick Draw. Again, not trying to sell anything, but it's something that I've been turned on to recently, and our head coach with the Booster Club was just able to secure for us and talk about a system that I think I've played with them all, man. I've used Huddle, I've used Coach's Office, I've used freaking you name it, drawn them by hand. But I think the capability potentially of Visio and Pro Quick Draw can really save me time and make us more efficient, not only in how we game plan, but how we draw cards. So Coach may give us a little rundown on that, as well as just general structure of kind of how we build out the offense. And then that'll be Monday. Come back on Wednesday and going to talk power, 1 back, 2 back, see how you guys do it, maybe what you like to RPO off of it, how you handle certain fronts and movements. And then if anybody's got any more topic ideas, man, let me know. And I'm here for it. But I appreciate all you fellas coming in. Hope you got some good stuff. I know I did. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Holler
Thanks,
at me
man.
if
Appreciate it.
yes, sir. Holler at me if you need anything, fellas. But have a good one.
Thanks,
Thank
Pete.
you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining in, Coach.
Yep.